Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kay Jacobson. I'm a librarian with the Ramsey County Libraries, and I run their history and current events programming. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our third session in the Summer Tuesday with the Scholar series. Today's talk will be about the Kerlan collection at the University of Minnesota, and our presenter is going to be Lisa Von Drasek. Let me introduce you to Lisa. Lisa Von Drasek is the curator of the Kerlan collection of children's literature at the University of Minnesota. She was formerly a children's librarian at the Bank Street College of Education, and Lisa was the teacher librarian for pre-K through 8th grade, as well as a teacher of children's literature, storytelling, and children's book publishing 101 to students in the Graduate School of Education. While serving as a director of Bank Street Center for Children's Literature, Lisa founded the Cook Prize, given to a STEM book chosen by children grades 3 and 4. She's also been a frequent guest lecturer at the Pratt Institute School of Information and Library Science and Storytelling and Folklore, Collection Development, and Services to Children. She's reviewed children's books for such places as the New York Times, EasyWord.com, Shelf Awareness, and blogs at Blue Ox Review. She's also served as a juror on the Caldecott Committee, the New York Times Best Illustrated, the Newbery Committee, the Ezra Jack Keats Award, and the Trudy Berger Prize National Book Awards for Young People's Literature, and the American Library Association's Notable Children's Books. I had the privilege of visiting the Kerlan collection back when I was in library school, good 15, 17 years ago, and I really enjoyed it and wanted to share this with you. So that's why I invited Lisa, and let's turn things over to her now.
Hey, hi. Okay, so I just want to know, I'm going to be seeing you, Kay. Will I see anybody else or no? Darn. Okay,
I
so
know, sorry, but it's a webinar setup versus,
yeah, I thought it would be a Zoom thing, but okay, we're good. But I just want to make sure I have at least one person I'm talking to instead of a black hole.
yep.
So, letting everyone know I'm home. Do you hear the dog barking? Sorry. And there's a air conditioner repairman in my house. So we might have to take a pause for me to sign off on his repair. So starting with that. Thank you for that amazing introduction. You know, you forget what your life is like. And then you go, whoa. So, yes, I am Lisa Von Drasek. I am the Maranker Family Curatorial Chair. 1 minute. Yes, Chi. Oh, you're doing something. Never mind. The Maranker Family Curatorial Chair, which means that I'm responsible for the Kerlan collection of children's literature. So I'm going to put my slides up. I'm going to talk for a while, and then we're going to open up for discussion or questions or anything like that. So share my screen, go to my PowerPoint. This is what I learned when I was in graduate school. Verbalize what you are doing. It's a habit. So here we are at the University of Minnesota. Oh, somehow we're on automatic. I do not want that. So let's go to escape. Let's go play from current slide. It shouldn't automatically go forward, right, Kay?
I think it
Pretty
should, yeah,
sure.
if you go from here, it should only advance now with your mouse.
With my, okay, good. So we're at the University of Minnesota. And there we go. And we do speak to that the University of Minnesota is on the traditional, ancestral, contemporary lands of Indigenous people. And it's automatically forwarding.
Try going in the bottom there with the three dots.
This 3 dots.
Yeah, let's see if there's one for.
Shall we do end show? Let's go to, maybe I don't go in slideshow.
Go to slideshow, open that.
Yeah.
Maybe uncheck use timings.
Where's that?
So that's to the right there.
Oh, there we go.
Let's try that and see if it works.
Excellent. So let's play from this slide. Okay, the University of Minnesota, I said that. This land acknowledgement is one of the ways that we work to educate the campus and community about the land and our relationships to it and each other and the people. And the reason I feel strongly about sharing that is we don't just talk this talk. My work at the Kerlan collection is also engaged in our communities. When we are hired to be curators, and what is a curator but a person who cares for a collection, we commit to engage not only with the university community, but with everyone. Students, children, teachers, parents, the Somali community, the Hmong community, the Dakota people, the Ojibwe people, whoever is interested in children's books and literature. That's my job. And how amazing is that? So part of what I do is I engage with the Department of Education. I engage with the Leech Lake Tribal College. I engage with White Earth, and we create resources for teachers and librarians. So you may not know this, there's a traveling collection of books on Indigenous subjects for and by that have been evaluated by teams of librarians. We put together these lists, and I'm sure Kay didn't even know that this is available for teachers, librarians, parents, caregivers. And as we do this work, we do it as teams engaged with educators, with classroom teachers, with professors. And that's just one part of my job. And we were talking before we started the webinar is no 2 days are the same as a curator, and it's never boring. First things first, you got to know that we're open access, which means anyone can come visit us. Make an appointment. We'll have at the end, I'll leave a last slide with our contact information, but that really is important. And you're going to look at this and you're going to go, it seems to me you're not open on weekends. That is correct. We are not open on weekends. So if you're working full time or you're active or you have other things to do for the week, make it a special trip, make an appointment. It's money. It's just money. We don't have money to staff on the weekends. And even in the summer, it's difficult for staffing. So check ahead, call ahead, find the collection you want to, and the curator you want to talk to. I just had someone write to me last night at 9 p.m. Could they come in on Wednesday? Could I show them some cool stuff? Well, you'll know why that's a difficult request. We are open access, but you need to make an appointment. Our collections, the Elmer L. Anderson Library has 14 different collections. We have the Charles Babbage Institute Archives, which is the history of computing. How cool is that? The Children's Literature Archives, the Givens Collection of African American Literature, the rare art collections. We have an incredible map collection. Did you know the University of Minnesota has the largest collections of Sherlock Holmes in the world? We don't say universe. We don't know about the universe, but the world. The immigration migration archives are so important. If you've been to New York City and you've been to Ellis Island and seen the restoration, the research to go into the restoration of Ellis Island was done in Minnesota because Professor Vicoli thought it was important to collect the migrant stories, the immigration stories, the journals, the pictures, the photographs, the letters of these people at a time when no one cared. No one cared. The Northwest Architectural Archives. Mid-century modern, if you love that kind of stuff, we have a curator whose sole love is to show you what University Grove and how it grew. The International YMCA archives. I did not know before I came to Minnesota that basketball was a game invented by the YMCA to keep football players from killing each other indoors in the winter. Who knew? Performing arts, the Guthrie, the ballet. Social welfare, the professors at the University of Minnesota cared about the work of women. I'm going to say more about that later. We have the Treader Collection, LGBTQ studies. We have the Upper Midwest Jewish Archives and Literary Archives. My husband used to, and you can volunteer. Just remember, if you got a little time on your hands, you can come and volunteer at the archives. I personally think mine are the most interesting, but my husband used to volunteer at the Upper Midwest Literary Archives, and he called it Reading Bill Holmes' Mail. And that's the kind of work that we have volunteers do. Intaking materials, sorting them out, putting them in folders, and keeping things safe for future generations. And we do that at the Elmer L. Anderson Library. And if you recall, he was governor and he had a collection of rare books and he supported research. He felt that was one of the most important things we could do is keep our history for future generations. And this building was built, many people, public funds, private funds, state legislatures, regents got together 25 years ago and built the state-of-art building and brought all these collections from all over the campuses, all over into one building, these 14 collections. And we have a cavern, a man-made cavern on the side of the Mississippi River that is 2 football fields wide, 90 feet below the ground level, 2 football fields wide. And I was in Japan giving a lecture and I said, and 2 football fields wide, and a hand went up and they said, how big is a football field? And I didn't know. So 12,000 square meters. That's how much space we have. And we also have offsite on Como. So if you drive up Como, there's a brand new offsite building there. This is what the cavern looks like. And that is why you have to make an appointment. Do you see those tracks? Someone has to be certified to use heavy equipment, which I am not. So there's other people who have been certified and trained safe. And it's this forklifty thing that goes up and down these rows to pull materials. And that's why we need a little advance notice because 1, it has to be charged because it's electric. And 2, we have to have the body, the human being who's trained to do that. I am not. So you can call me up and say, well, I know the curator and she'll get that for me. Yeah, no, I can't. I'm really sorry. But if we have cool stuff already in the office, so these people who just sent me a note that they're coming in on Wednesday, we have researchers in on Monday. I can offer them to take a look at cool stuff that I had already pulled, not me personally. People often want to know who was Dr. Kerlan. I'll tell you. Dr. Kerlan was a graduate of the University of Minnesota. He was the youngest degreed medical doctor graduated. I don't know since then, but this was in the 1950s, late 40s. And he went to work in Washington, D.C. for the FDA, for the Food and Drug Administration. And for people my age and older, they may remember the thalidomide scare. And it was Dr. Kerlan's team that banned thalidomide in the United States. And it was huge that these young doctors at the FDA demanded and had the research to prove that this was dangerous to pregnant women and to babies. But they went up against quite the corporations and people in the United States government. So they were quite a brave team of doctors. He had a hobby. He wanted to collect rare books. He loved books, but rare books were too expensive. Grown-up books were too expensive. And he received as a gift Johnny Cottontail. That was the first of his collection. It's not a very famous book. Margaret Frisky, pictures by Lucia Patton. And when he received this, he noted that he just fell in love with children's books, the art, the words, the physical book, the artists. And he began collecting. And this is his friend, Don Freeman, did this illustration of Dr. Kerlan collecting his books. He became friends with many of the creators, Maurice Sendak, Leo Leone, and he traveled widely. And he became an expert in children's books and lectured on them. And he still lived in Washington, D.C., had a townhouse. He collected these books, and many of them were signed to him. So Virginia Lee Burton, who did The Little House, and Mike Mulligan in The Steam Shovel, you see greetings to Dr. Irvin Kerlan from Virginia Lee Burton, 1952. So many of our books have signatures, Dear Dr. Kerlan, or even his own notes on why he collected it. We have the first book published illustrated by Maurice Sendak of Where the Wild Things Are fame. And you would think it was a charming little children's book, but actually it was not. Maurice Sendak, when he was in high school, illustrated his physics teacher's textbook, which was professionally published by an educational publisher. And the signature inside says, Dear Irv, do not show this to anyone. And I show it to everyone. Karen Nelson Hoyle, we can't talk about the Kerlan collection without talking about Karen Nelson Hoyle. She was the curator, the first curator of the Children's Literature Research Collections, and she had the job for 45 years. So when you think of the focus of the collection, each curator's point of view is spoken through what we collect. It is our job to decide what to hold for future generations, for research, for study, for enjoyment. And so there's Karen, and she traveled widely just like Dr. Kerlan. She went to many conferences, international conferences, spoke to writers and illustrators, and collected. You should be reminded that the majority of our collection is donated by the creators. I'm not the Beinecke Library of Yale. I do not have an endowed funds to buy $50,000 rare books. What I have is the ability to promise the writers and the creators that we will keep their materials safe for future generations for study and learning, and that they will be placed in context of what a children's book is. Children's books are for children. Children's books are for education. Children's books are for sharing. Children's books are for community. And that's what we do. When I came for this job interview, I was pretty snotty. And I said, look, if you're looking for an archivist to just sit in an office and make things nice, no, I'm a teacher. I'm a librarian. And I want to use this stuff. And we'll talk more about that. Oh, so there I am. So I came 12 years ago to Minnesota. And what you should know about the cavern, it's a constant 64 degrees, hence lots of sweaters and scarves. And it is 40% humidity, which is perfect for paper. And again, I came as a teacher and a librarian. I didn't come to say, oh, look at this little precious book, or look at this precious piece of paper, or this precious piece of art. My job is to share. We are open access. So I heard once that if I say something 3 times, you will remember it. So I've said open access twice so far, if you're counting. We serve everyone, again. School groups come, we make exhibits, we travel exhibits, we engage in community events like the Twin Cities Book Festival, Red Wing Children's Book Festival. I just did a presentation at the Loft Literary Center. We invite children, adults, everyone. We have special events with authors. So this is Kwame Alexander, and we work with other community groups. So the Rotary, do you know about the Rotary? I did not know about the Rotary, but now I do. Has special projects for literacy, and they have money. So we invited all these kids from neighborhood schools to come here. Kwame Alexander, a poet, Newbery winner, and the Rotary bought every kid a book. Because is there anything sadder than going to hear an author and not having money to buy a book, or your neighbor has the book and you don't? So every kid who came to this event got a book, and it just thrills me to no end. We hold presentations for corporations. So this is the leadership team for Learner Publishing. We are a hotbed of publishing here in Minnesota for children. We have Learner, we have Capstone, we have Creative Education, we have Black Sheep. I mean, we have so many wonderful publishing for children, and their people, their art directors, Free Spirit, come and look at materials here. We also host other people like designers from Target come twice a year for inspiration. We pull fabulous historic materials, contemporary materials, so they can see what the trends are in children's picture books. The scope of the collection is award-winning books. So that's the Newbery Medal. We hold Newbery Medals. You can come and hold one in your hand. When I came here, the first thing I did was look for my favorite books. And so this is Too Much Noise by Anne McGovern. It's a retelling of a folk tale that we probably have, I think the last count I had about 26 versions of this folk tale. And this is illustrated by Sims Tabak. So we have the jacket art, the color separations, which is the history of how children's books are made. We have the ink illustrations on separations and 20 pages. We have rare books. And, people say, well, what makes a book rare? Well, it's rare if there's only one or two of them running around the universe right now. And what makes children's books rare is their ephemera. Children touch them. Children ruin them. They fall apart. People always want to donate. Well, it's not in great condition. It doesn't have a cover. Half the pages are ripped out. There's crayon all over it. We don't hold those books. We hold beautiful books, and I'm supposed to guess what's going to be rare in 50 years. Let's face it, a Caldecott winning book is not rare because it won the Caldecott. Everyone owns one. Every teacher has one in their house, in their classroom, and then they retired and want to give me that book. We're not going to have more than one. We don't have that kind of space. We have one first edition signed. Beautiful. Maybe a second edition because the paper will be different. The cover might be a little different, maybe a paperback, and that's it. So in 1963, Dr. Kerlan got this book, and you say to yourself, why this book? The world of children's books has not changed at all on how books are made because it's a business. So if you wrote a children's, do you need me?
Yeah, I'm done.
You're done?
Yeah.
Do you need me to do anything?
Nope, you're good to go.
Okay.
What temperature would you want your thermostat to be at?
What's it now?
It's at 71 right now.
71's perfect.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Okay.
bye.
Bye. I have air conditioning. Yay. Okay, back to The Sun is a Star. So children's book publishing continues to be a business. So if I write a children's book and you don't know me and I don't have anything published and I just have a manuscript, How am I going to sell that? It's going to go to the bookstore. It's going to go to a library. Who's Lisa Von Drasek? Nobody. The publisher's going to pair me with someone who's famous, like Melissa Sweet. And it might take 2 years for that book to be published. But when it's published, the bookstore's going to buy it. The library's going to buy it because they know that illustrator. So there's always a famous person and a not so famous person. And eventually, if you get traction and you have a track record, you may get to write and illustrate your own books because you have a record, you have a sales record. When we look at The Sun is a Star by Soon Engebretsen, pictures by Eric Carle, you're all sitting there going, well, I know the famous person, Eric Carle, very hungry caterpillar. But of course, look at the year, 1963. Not but of course. The famous person was Soon Engebretsen. The not famous person was Eric Carle. Soon Engebretsen was the director of the Natural History Museum in New York City and had a series of science books from Holt. And the Holt editor and art director chose the new and up-and-coming illustrator from his portfolio, Eric Carle. You look at this and you go, of course this is Eric Carle. But Dr. Kerlan looked at this book and said, this is special. Did he collect it because it was Soon Engebretsen? Maybe because we have other Soon Engebretsens. Is it rare because it's Soon Engebretsen? Yeah, because everybody else threw them out. So we have one of the few copies of a pristine The Sun is Also a Star, illustrated by Eric Carle. We collect for the future, but we also can research what we've already have and see the history of children's literature. That same year, in the early 60s, these were the #1 best-selling books. And now you look at this grouping and you say, oh, very white, all firemen, very nice, Dick and Jane, suburban, this fantasy land of suburban America, and British classics like Winnie the Pooh. And that same year, what did we see? The Snowy Day, which won the Caldecott. Completely different. The first mainstream book published for children from a major publisher featuring a Black child. Here's some interesting money thoughts. Why does it say a Caldecott award book and it doesn't have a sticker on it? It doesn't have a sticker on it because every time a sticker, the Caldecott sticker, is on something, they have to pay a tax to the American Library Association. So the sticker sells books, therefore the publisher has to weigh whether to pay the money for the sticker or not. They can say it, but they can't have the sticker unless they pay for it. We research across collections. So Superman versus the Ku Klux Klan was how after World War II, there was great anti-Semitism, well, before World War II, but immediately afterwards, there was a rise of Klan activity, and how publishers and educators were using Superman to battle prejudice at that time. That research was done in the Child Study Association collections of the social welfare papers. And the person who did that original work was Josette Frank of the Child Study Committee. The Child Study Committee was in New York City. The Child Study Committee eventually was at the Bank Street College of Education. When I first came to Minnesota, I didn't come for a job in Minnesota. I came to do research in social welfare, not in children's literature, because I was interested in the work of Josette Frank. And the surprises that happen when you come to the library, you come and you say, oh, I want to see this, I want to look at this, but you will be, every single person I've ever interviewed who's done any sort of research is always surprised by something. And this was my surprise. I am reading Joseph Frank's papers. I am reading the letters. I am looking at newspaper clippings. She is so real to me. And in the 1950s, there was congressional hearings against comics. Comics were bad. Congress wanted to ban them. They wanted to pull them from newsstands and grocery stores. Children were being corrupted by comics. Oh, the horror. And Joseph Frank from the Child Study Committee testified for comics as a form of literacy, as something good for children of high interest reading, and it's a container, and not every comic is for every child. She testified, Senate hearings. And right after Joseph Frank, Eleanor Roosevelt testified. Eleanor Roosevelt testified against comics. I'm sitting in the reading room, my head is exploding. And these are the things we find out when we visit the archives, things we have no idea and no expectation of. People always wonder, who is your favorite? What is your favorite thing in the library? What is it? Okay, I'm gonna just say it. Kate DiCamillo is a genius. I will read anything she writes. She's local. She's wonderful. Her first book was Because of Winn-Dixie. And in the archives, in special collections of the University of Minnesota, oh my God, her papers. Every time she finishes a book, she sends me an email and says, I'm pulling the car around next week and dropping off my papers. And we hold them until the book is published. And as soon as the book is published, anyone can look at her process. This is the first page of the first draft of Because of Winn-Dixie. And if you haven't read this book, you've got to. It's a fabulous read aloud. But look, Because of Winn-Dixie, the first title was 2 onions, 4 garlic bulbs, serendipity, and a dog named Winn-Dixie. What we can see here is 1, Kate DiCamillo cannot spell. 2, she cannot punctuate. 3, she has no idea what grammar is to save her life. It is a 1-page run-on sentence. And she would say to you, that's because I want graduate students, I want 5th graders, I want everyone to know that writing is hard work. And when you write, you take off the editor's hat. And then you put it back on for revision. And that's why revision is important. That's why editing is important. And what I do with this, when I have a 5th grade class, I Xerox this baby off and I ask, who's the best reader in the class? And it's usually a girl who looks just like me. And I say, read aloud that first couple sentences. And of course, it's impossible. It's impossible to read. And then I pair the kids up and I have them copy edit it. And I say, who wants to share? And then we look at the 4th draft. My name is India Opal Bologna, and last summer my daddy, the preacher, sent me grocery shopping. I go shopping all the time because I do not have a mother, and the preacher is too distracted to pick out the groceries. You see Jane Resch Thomas, you know the JRT, that's Jane Resch Thomas, who was Kate's teacher, also teacher at Hamline University in their MFA program, says, great start. And you and I would both say, so we have manuscript pages and we see the conversation between the editor and the writer. And you and I would say, this is a great start. It's fabulous. Isn't that just what we remembered? This is the finished. Chapter 1. My name is India Opal Bologna. And last summer, my daddy, the preacher, sent me to the store for a box of macaroni and cheese, some white rice, and 2 tomatoes. And I came back with a dog. It just sings. It just sings. And this is what we learn by going into the archives. Writing is work. Writing is a process. You can go online and look at our digital exhibits. We did a whole thing on STEM because that's a big interest of mine. So Balloons Over Broadway, Melissa Sweet, and the engineering of a picture book. Balloons Over Broadway is a picture book about the Thanksgiving Day parade balloons in New York City. And when in the beginning, when this parade began, they had real animals in cages parading down Broadway. Bad idea. It was not a good thing. Scary, bad, not good for the animals. And there was a puppeteer named Tony Sarg who was very famous. And he was literally on Broadway and had shows, very famous puppeteer. And so Mr. Macy calls up Tony and says, Tony, can you make me some really big puppets for the parade? We'll do animals and things. And Tony used his engineering mind to figure out how to create floating marionettes that can go down the street and how they would manipulate these. And Melissa Sweet thought this was such a great story that she wanted to do a picture book about Tony Sarg and his work. So what we see in our archives, because Melissa Sweet gave us all her research notes, all her manuscript pages, all her dummies, you not only can see how a picture book is made from scratch, you can see how this one was done. So we see online, anyone can look at it, any teacher anywhere can teach from this digital exhibit. We see her research, we see her research notes. We see her private notes, like what was she thinking about? How was she going to tell the story? This picture book biography, which, finite. You get 36 pages. The questions she had, what is success? How to mechanically do this? So we see her notes. This is called thumbnail sketches. Every picture book. Now, we don't always have everything because this is ephemeral. Most people just throw this out after they do it. It's a thumbnail, literally as big as your thumb. Just sketch out the double page spreads, the 16 to 20, depending on the signature, how many pages, the thumbnail sketches of how do we tell the story in this finite form. And then there's a dummy book. Most of the picture books in our collection has one dummy book that the art director looks at, the publisher looks at, and they make a decision of how the page turns are going to be, how the manuscript is going to lay out. Melissa Sweet has 10 dummies for this book. And so we can see some are sketches, some are collage. Look at all those words. And slowly but surely, you see how the words start disappearing and the pictures begin telling the story of Tony Sarg. I want to tell you, here are the things curators hate, archivists hate. We hate tape. We hate rubber cement. We hate staples. We hate paper clips. These are all the things we hate. You know what we love? Post-its. Post-its are forever. Love Post-its. Look, beautiful. Just like comes out of the box like the day she put it on there. Pen, ink, pencil, Post-its. We love all those things. Rubber bands are evil. Rubber bands are evil. They turn into like gummy worms. It's disgusting. No. Again, here we see the dummy book. It's starting to shape up. The book, we're starting to see it. We see the Post-its. We see the conversation between our editor and the art director. 22 people touch a picture book before the bookseller at the Red Balloon gives it to you. Starting to see color. What do we do next? What do we see here? We see the Post-its, we see color, we see this color right now is what we call a color study. She's starting to figure out what colors the finished book is going to have. And then we see finished. And so we use this program online called Omeka because you can literally see that the weight of the paper. the edges. And this is the finished page of the finished book from Balloons Over Broadway. And so artists, MCAD students come to us, graphic design students come to us. All these people come to us to see how picture books are made, how children's book art is made. Again, we teach history and folklore. We have the Jack Zipes collection of folklore, and we put together a comparative study to show you, if you are a teacher or a librarian or a professor who wants to talk about folklore, how we examine one book, one title, Little Red Riding Hood, but 3 centuries of Little Red Riding Hood. So you can go online and take a look at that. We've chosen one scene, When She Met the Wolf, because even though there are countless varieties of Little Red Riding Hood, there is always the moment when she meets the wolf. And then you can see, this is Trina Shart-Hyman's illustration, When She Met the Wolf. Jack Zipes, who was a professor at the University of Minnesota, he's emeritus now. We have centuries of these illustrations, and we can just pick one period of time, 1862 to 1929, and we can see these different images of When She Met the Wolf. 1918. And this is a woodcut. You can also see the different styles and media of children's picture books through centuries. She seems awfully happy to meet that wolf. And we have favorite classics. So you can look at the work of Clement Hurd, and you can see the color studies from Goodnight Moon. We can interpret this one image of Goodnight Moon in the context of a children's literature scholar, Leonard Marcus, who says, look at this. This is so remarkable. 1948, post-World War II, this is aspirational. There was a housing shortage post-World War II. No little bunny had a big room all of his own. And how rich is this bunny? He has a telephone. And if you look at the prior illustration, this is a color study with a sketch. There's a map on the wall, and there's an old lady whispering hush. And that changed to a bunny, old lady whispering hush, to books. And Leonard Marcus would say, it was probably the editor, Ursula Nordstrom, said, get rid of the map. We don't sell maps, we sell books. Remember, books is a business. And if you look on the bunny's nightstand, you see them selling into the next volume. The runaway bunny is on the nightstand. And we also study the manuscripts of picture books. So if you wanted to look at Hole is to Dig, we have the papers of Charlotte Zolotow and Ruth Krauss, and how she came about writing A Hole is to Dig, but we also have the sketches from Maurice Sendak. Millions of Cats, you might not know this, Wanda Gog is a Minnesotan, New Ulm, you can go to her house, but we also have her family photographs. We have sketches, color, ink. We have the manuscript page. Now, the University of Minnesota Archives and Special Collections did buy this manuscript. It came on auction, and we have the provenance of it. This is the manuscript page of Wanda Gog's Millions of Cats from when she lived in Chelsea. And what is interesting about this is that a manuscript from 1950 and a manuscript from 2020 looks almost exactly the same. If someone said to me, would you read my picture book manuscript, and it's 8 pages, I go, you obviously don't know what you're doing. Go to the Loft and take a class, or go to their picture book seminars, or join the SCBWI. A picture book manuscript is 2 pages, 3 pages tops. And here's the hand lettering. So we have the original art, the hand lettering, and I love it because, you know, kids today, they don't actually know what cut and pasting really means. Before there were computers, and if you didn't want to do the whole page over, you cut it and you pasted. And these are the blues. So these are the original printouts. If only we had a cat, sighed the very old woman. And what's interesting about this picture, I love showing this. This, I thought, and it was cataloged when I got here as the first edition, but it's actually a bound proof. And over the course of pages, you see her moving things over or changing where that cat is or making a larger margin. And again, she was very bohemian. Oh, I do have some gossip about her. So do you know Ruth Gannett, who was a little girl, and when she graduated college, she was the person who wrote My Father's Dragon, which is a chapter book, very famous chapter book. And we hold all those materials, and I've interviewed the family members. Ruth Gannett, when she was a little girl, her dad was in publishing in New York City. They lived in the Village. And her dad dated Wanda Gog, and she wanted Wanda Gog to be her stepmother so badly. But Wanda was not a one-man woman. So she did not have that. But it was the intertwining of children's book gossip. So we have her manuscripts, we have her notebooks, we have her journals, we have her family photographs, and people come do that research and they make their own books and we collect those. Virginia Lee Burton. We talked a little bit about her, and one of the reasons I wanted to bring her to people's attention is, again, that serendipity, that history, the whole person. We collect the whole person. So often when you're thinking about children's book writers, you don't think about that they have other lives. Or illustrators. So Jim McMullen did the illustrations for I Stink, but he also was the face of New York City Lincoln Center, and all the Lincoln Center posters are Jim McMullen. So artists are not just children's artists or children's book artists, they're artists, they're fine artists. Jonathan Thunder has shows everywhere, but also has a book called Bow Wow Pow Wow. So Little House, we hold that. Now look at that watercolor on that paper. It's just exquisite. And here's Virginia Lee Burton. And her famous books are Mike Mulligan and the Steam Shuttle and Little House. And so we see the book, we see the pages in the book, we see the title page, the hand lettering, this is how they line up those crosses there, are how they line up the printing of the book in color separations. But what you might not know about her is that she did most of her work during the Depression. She was also a fabric designer and printmaker, and her group was called Folly Cove. And she trained other housewives how to create fabric so that they could have cheap, beautiful materials in their homes during the Depression. They created these linoleum block prints, these Folly Cove prints on muslin, cheap muslin. The linoleum came as excess off of Navy ships. This was their graduation, the women of Folly Cove. This is some of their prints, their fabric prints. And the reason I'm bringing this up is many fabric prints, historically, you may know, and design-wise, you know them still, like Marimekko. They're still around. Why do you not know Folly Cove? Why do you not know the work of Virginia Lee Burton? Now, some might say, this is one called Gossip. Some might say the reason you don't know the work of Virginia Lee Burton is she's a woman. Could be. But they're extremely famous. This is a Life magazine profile of the women of Folly Cove and Virginia Lee Burton. You might see her name is Virginia Demetrius. They called her Ginny. Ginny's husband was an artist. He was a sculptor. He was her teacher. She married her teacher. And he was extremely jealous of her success. I'd like to emphasize this. I have interviewed people. I know this for a fact. He was extremely jealous of her success in children's books and the Folly Cove work. She died of lung cancer young, and he destroyed all of her prints. But he could not erase her children's books because her children's books were in print and owned by the publisher as long as they were in print. So we know who Virginia Lee Burton is because of her children's books. And it's devastating that more people don't know her as a printmaker. So I've given you a lot to think about. And so I want to just do a very quick what you can see online for free from the University of Minnesota. The ABC of it, Why Children's Books Matter, is this book. It's a free download from the University of Minnesota Publishing. Libraries Publishing. It's the history of the Kerlan collection through the eyes of Leonard Marcus and me. It's a beautiful book. You can actually buy one online, but you can also free download it. You can, and this is stuff that's inside. So you can see a lot, there's never going to be enough time to talk about everything we have. This is the collage of Lois Ehlert. You can come, you can make an appointment. You can see Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. You can see dance. You can see all of these things we hold. So if you went online and you looked at this book and you downloaded the book, you can page through and say, yes, I want to see this original art. Yes, I want to see this work. Go online and see the comparative studies. This is how children's books were made before there was digital. Color separation. So we have a whole exhibit of how children's books were printed in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. What is pre-separated art? This is pre-separated art. We tell you all about it. We use the stuff from the materials in the collection. Children's book art and technique. What is printmaking? What is etching? We show you it. You can go, you can look at the different artists. You can see the art. You can put it on a computer. You can ask for it to see it in person. We do workshops. See us at all these special events. And that's my last slide. And with that, I will take questions. I'm gonna stop the slide. Kay, you can provide them all with my contact information, right? ask-clrc@umn.edu. That's for appointments, that's for questions. Don't call me. The University of Minnesota took away our phones. Email. I know, it's crazy. Do you have a phone, Kay? You're muted, Kay.
Unmute. Okay, I do have a phone.
Yeah, okay.
But it took a while I remember I moved into my position right at the beginning of the pandemic, and I did not have a computer or phone for months and months and months.
Well, we came back from the pandemic and they took away our phones.
Yeah, I kind of wish I wouldn't have gotten one at one point because the phones never stopped ringing when we did curbside pickup. But
yeah, well, that's different.
That's different.
So email us if you have, you want to look at stuff or you had any questions about anything I said. I'll get it. That's easy.
Yeah, just type Kerlan collection into Google or whatever search engine you
It's
use.
actually, I got away with something. The actual website, as opposed to the crazy websites at the U, is kerlan.umn.edu.
So,
So I got lucky.
yep. I can definitely send an email out to everyone on that too. So, okay, well, let's start with, oh, now I don't know, somebody knows that the Walter Library at the U used to host or house the Curling collection, and they're wondering if you know what the status of the beautiful room in Walter Library is that used to house the Curling collection.
Yeah, the status of it has nothing to do with us anymore. Though we have done the research because there was the battle for the Upson room. The room is called the Upson room. It was literally donated by the Upson family. It is a gorgeous, beautiful study, beautiful everything room, a classic library room. Unfortunately, it was not temperature controlled, humidity, blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. So when the new building was built, of course, we went to the new building. I
Mm.
think they use it for meetings and, special events and things like that.
Probably not available for access public.
Well, I'm not sure that it's not available for access, but the way to do that is go room reservation and say Upson room and see if it's because it was originally dedicated for student study.
Okay.
So
So
that's what I
Upson
know
is
about
that
Upson.
UPSON?
Yep.
Okay. And or check the Walter Library website too.
Yeah.
It
Walter.
is always a
I've
good
been
idea.
in there for special events, so I know it's still there, and people would sigh and go. But remember, also, it wasn't very secure. The rare books were just on the shelves, and all the boxes of original art and materials were just stacked up on shelving in the back. So it wasn't the ideal. When people come from other collections and see, what we got, they're very jealous.
Okay, so if anyone is wondering, you can click on the Q&A and I think everyone can see these. Somebody has posted the website. Actually, I'll see if I can copy it and I'll post it in chat just in case
Yeah, that's a good
people
idea.
can't.
I
Just
do
to
see a
be
question. Are any of the books on loan? As in, you can take them out of my library? No. But, and the big but there is, if you are an institutional library or museum, we loan to other institutions. We loan to publishers to reimage. So, but they take care of insurance and art shipping and handling and things like that.
so.
So we loan to institutions that we know that are secure. For example, we have 100 pieces right now at a place called the Rabbit Hole, which is a literary museum in children's space in Kansas City, Missouri. And I'll be
Yeah.
going there to give a lecture about Ruth Gannett and My Father's Dragon.
Yeah, the rabbit hole has a great website to look
Yeah.
at.
Go to the rabbit hole. It's very cool. And we actually helped them when they were building. They came to visit us and we gave them our specifications so that we always know we can loan to them, that it's temperature controlled, it's secure, blah, blah, all of that.
Yeah. Okay, are most of the current acquisitions a result of people approaching you, such as authors or illustrators, and offering to donate, or do you proactively look for new acquisitions? And are there any books you have on your wish list now?
Well, there's a problem with the United States right now, besides the many problems we already know. In the 1970s, it's all about history. Nixon donated his papers to the presidential library and took a huge tax deduction. And you might not know this, congressional people were very angry at Nixon at that time. And the IRS was being weaponized against people. So they passed a law that said the creator of materials gets no tax benefit. And they thought that would just be for a short period of time, but it continues to this day. So Kevin Henkes, David Wiesner, Paul Zelinsky, I guess all guys now, but women too. Very famous writers and illustrators will not sign a deed of gift, will not give us materials because there's a space there that says, what is the value of this? And it is not worthless. But because they already deducted their art supplies, they can't do that. So, that is why. So a lot of people hold on to their stuff, as we call it, stuff being the materials. So some people are keeping their stuff safe, but some people are keeping it in barns and attics and basements and garages. And we've had materials show up that we've had to throw out the majority of it because it was infested with mold. And we do have preservationists, but there's only so much money for that too.
Mm-hmm.
Or families were waiting to see, or they want money. I don't have $250,000 to give to the estate of Vera B. Williams. And then I remind myself, I don't have to have everything. So Mo Willems is at Beinecke at Yale. So if you want to go see Mo Willems, make sure you have a thesis advisor or a dissertation mentor to grease the wheels, because that's the difference between the University of Minnesota open access. That was my third time. Did you notice? Open access. And yes, I see somebody said, my grandchildren, 6, 10, and 11 to see the collection. Well, when you say the collection is huge. So you would need to select a few things. The reading room is a quiet space. So if your 6-year-old is a contemplative 6-year-old, sure, no problem. Otherwise, my recommendation would be to come to some of our events where we have reproductions. So when we come to the Twin Cities Book Festival, or we go to the Red Wing, but we have activities for young children, but we also have replicas and reproductions. But a 10 and 11-year-old, sure. You want to look at the original manuscript pages of Misty of Chincoteague? You want to look at Kate DiCamillo? You want to look at the art of Wanda Gogg's Millions of Cats? It's really fun to see the stuff we loved as kids and share what temper on board looks like from Pokey Little Puppy. Because often when you look at the finished book, you're really surprised it's not the same because of the way things are reproduced.
Mm-hmm. So the events that you were talking about outside
Yeah.
that you bring stuff to, are those on the events calendar for Kerlan?
Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. I got to say, the best way to know about things is look at our newsletter, which we put online digitally. So we always say we're going to be at Red Wing, or we're going to be here, we're going to be there. Or in the fall, we have the Kerlan Award is coming up. Sometimes we have a very special, we partner with the education department, so they have book week. And they have in the spring, they have the Chase lecture. And sometimes those are perfectly appropriate for kids 10 and up and people like that. We did Doors Open Minnesota. And so we did writing boxes as a lot of off the page activities for literature I've put together in something called writing boxes. You can go online. It is free again. Go to the Kerlan publications. You can download it. We do map making and poetry and letter writing and things like that.
Oh, okay.
And for $25, you can be a Kerlan friend and get it in the mail.
Okay. So yeah, and I would say in terms of suggestions, it's like ask them what some of their favorite books are.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like we have Baby Mouse. We have the original art and manuscripts. and comic pages from Baby Mouse. How cool is that? Oh yeah, the biggest get ever. You know, wouldn't it be great to have Dave Pilkey and Captain Underpants and Dog Man? Wouldn't that be great? If you know him, just call him up. He lives in Japan. He's hard to get a hold.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I always think of we have Harry Potter hanging in the New Brighton Library and the Roseville Library because Mary Grand Pré was
Was here.
local, and
Yeah.
she was the illustrator, and she came and did um, things with the children's story times or special events, and she created Harry Potter. So we have them hanging in two of our libraries. So that's just it's always fun to see authors, recreating some of their big characters that they get to, or illustrators, I should say, getting to do that. Um, is there an ongoing scanning of these paper books for digital preservation?
Absolutely not. Those paper books are under copyright. So historic materials like from the late 1800s, early 1900s and things like that, I'll let the other people do it. I'll let New York Public Library, I'll let Yale and Harvard and the Library of Congress. So you can go online and see the Brownies books. You can see those historic things online. The DeGrumman, the Baldwin Library, we'll let them spend their time and money on digital. The physical paper books, for the most part, are under copyright, and we were not permitted to do that. The other is, I just want to remind everyone, paper is forever and digital is ephemera. Does anyone remember WordStar? I get floppy disks written in WordStar, and we have to figure out how to preserve that. We, not meaning me. We have a digital preservationist whose job it is. So now my big dilemma is, as I accept digitally born artwork, how do we preserve that in 5 years when you might not have the same program to access that? How do we preserve the process? I was just talking to someone, Rebecca Kuntz, who just won the Caldecott. Her Caldecott winning book is done totally, solely in digital. There's no process art. So you saw those sketches from Melissa Sweet. You see all those Wanda Gog sketches, you see the dummy books, you see all of this stuff. I asked her what she had. She had three pencil sketches. That's it. No dummy, no nothing, because they just fix it as they go, and that's the end, and we're done. So I don't know what's gonna happen with all of that.
Oh yeah, I think of papers I wrote that I still want, but I wrote them back in the 80s and 90s, and to if I don't have a printed off copy, I mean, I still have some on one computer because I have an old computer that I've kept, but it's like to get it off of there, I'm like going
Not
good
gonna
luck.
talk to your printer. It's not gonna talk to your printer.
Yep.
You know, I'm worried right now. I write in Scrivener and there was just some kind of update. I'm like, oh crap. You know, every time an update happens, I'm thinking, oh crap.
This might be the last time I get to print it. Yeah.
Hmm.
So what are some of the most recent books, manuscripts that you have received or acquired that
Hmm.
stick out in your head, I guess
Well,
would
what
be?
sticks out immediately is we just received probably the rest of Jim McMullen's work. That was pretty front and center in my head. I Because I have some commitments I can't talk about right now. There's some exciting stuff coming soon. Will Hillenbrand came to visit us and just sent us a whole bunch of stuff. So that's very cool. What happens often is people do come visit us for another reason. Oh, Don Tate. Oh my God. So I have to say I do stalk people on Facebook. Like when I can't sleep, I'm on Facebook and the feed is going up. And of course it's all, a lot of children's literature people. And Don Tate was bragging about cleaning out his files and throwing things out and burning them. And I was like, do not do that, Lisa from the Kerlan. And he got right back to me and fortunately part of my funds can be spent on shipping. And so he sent the work of 15 books to us, the original art. And the other is trying to convince people not to throw things out that they think are not important. Like I want his research notes. I want his sketches. They send the finished art. They think that's the important thing.
Right, no.
Most recently, of course, we did receive all of the art from Jonathan Thunder's Bow Wow Pow Wow, written by Brenda Child, and just magnificent. Marlena Miles' work, and one of the artists whose work that we exhibited this fall, we have the exhibit space in the library, there's 14 collections. The next time I can grab an exhibit space is 2027. So I'm always thinking, what else? I would love to pair with the Bell Museum. Do you know the book My Side of the Mountain by Craighead George? We have her research notebooks. We have her field notebooks. Wouldn't it be cool to do something with the Bell and the Raptor Center? So that's the kind of thing. Yeah, it's never boring.
So, okay, do you have any books in Spanish and or other languages?
We do, but one would have to research our catalog for that. Most of those materials are either a selection because we had a connection with another library, so books in Russian, folk tales in Russian, or books from the Jack Zipes collection in German and Spanish, Italian, or I personally collect children's books reflecting our community, Somali, Hmong, Spanish, and so Vietnamese. And so we try to have that. We can't be, the be all and end all of things. We also, which is different from most collections like ours, is collect our people who we have manuscripts. We make sure we have their complete collection and all of their world language editions. So Kate DiCamillo is published in more than 26 languages. So I used to bring duplicate copies of, because of Winn-Dixie and Thai. And I say, yeah, I can read Thai. Do you want me to read this to you? My name is India Opabaloni, and last summer, my daddy, the preacher. So I lie to children, that is true.
Okay, does the collection extend up to young adult books?
Absolutely. And we do have manuscripts from people like Virginia Ewell Wolf and Jane Yolen. And so I obviously cannot read everything. So I'm a member of YALSA. We collect award-winning books. So the Prince books. We also collect there's every year 10 books that cross over from adult to young adult. We make sure we collect that. We also collect books that if someone's a picture book writer, their adult books and their young adult books, the whole person. So Marguerite Henry, we hold everything by her.
Mhm. So, okay. Someone's wondering about the 2 football fields of books. Are they all Kerlan?
No, the 2 football fields contain 14 collections.
all of the archives for the,
All of the archives, and we have offsite space too, but the cavern and the Anderson Library is specific to the very rare.
so.
Yeah.
So basically, and then they're wondering how to get in contact info to call ahead.
I would do the email, ask-clrcumn.edu, or go to our website and it says that too.
Okay.
And give us like a week at least. Because, for example, this week, although we do have researchers in and their materials have been pulled and they're in the reading room, the assistant curator is out on vacation this week, and the people who could pull materials, were here yesterday. And so nothing's going to happen this week. If you want to look at something, it's whatever's sitting around and we didn't reshelve.
Right. And that would be true most likely for any of the archives, because they pull for all of the archives, I'm sure that.
Well, that's the thing. Each department is responsible for their own pulling. It's not
Oh, okay.
centralized. So,
Good to know. I would have assumed it would have been.
no, we tried that. It didn't work. Part of it is dependability. Student workers are gone this summer. Who's left? Training people, you can't, by the time they're trained on that crown, the minute we have a graduate, we got to get somebody who can maybe get 4 years in. We're very sad when people graduate.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it's a tough gig, and dependability and attention to detail. Working in the archives is not just sitting around at a desk. So it's not it's hard to train, it's hard to keep. We don't have a lot of money. That's part of it too. It's all about money. Anybody have $1 million in their pocket, I'll take it. And I really need it for people. It's really hard to explain. Everybody wants to give me money to buy stuff. And I'll
so,
never have enough money to buy stuff. So really, that's not worth it. But what I need is $20 an hour to help me do my job.
right, to
That's,
have the support that you need.
and I'm an endowed chair. So the minute somebody's saying I pay your salary, please, you don't. The very generous Maranker family endowed my position. So there will always be a children's specialist in this position. And that's not true of of uh, all the other collections, because of money.
Mhm.
So the University of Minnesota, often when somebody leaves their job, they leave the job open for a bit so that they can use that money for other things. So it's a balancing act.
Okay. So this person's wondering, because you talked about the many versions of Red Riding Hood in children's books, and they were saying how surprised they were when they learned how many different versions of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam there
Uh-huh.
are. Um, are would you say things like folk tales, like Red Riding Hood and stuff like that, are those the ones that have the like up to 40 versions of?
Well, baby, you want to talk about Treasure Island? We've got an enormous Treasure Island collection, more than, probably, I don't even know, over 80 versions of Treasure Island. We have an extensive collection of Alice in Wonderland, Alice Through the Looking Glass. We have, so it depends. Usually collections like that mean a human being made a collection of that and gave it to us. So the Treasure Island collection is exactly that, and the Alice collection is exactly that. I cannot at this moment, but who knows, know of another title I would accept a collection like that from. There is a 1,000 pop-up collection in California that's we're in negotiation for. Wouldn't that be cool? Because
Mhm.
mechanical books, again, ephemera, hard to keep. So this is 1,000 titles that are pristine. that have never been touched by children. Dr. Kerlan, there's a letter to Dr. Stanford, who was the head of the libraries, from Dr. Kerlan saying, here's another shipment of books donating to the University of Minnesota. Don't let the students touch them. And Dr. Stanford wrote back saying, then stop sending us books. We teach students. They will be touching the books. We don't keep them in little cases. So somebody wants to know about Laura Ingalls Wilder and her books. What about them?
I don't know. I'm gonna guess they're wondering maybe if they're in the collection.
Well, the books are in the collection. We do not hold her papers. I don't know what her papers are.
I have a feeling those are probably somewhere in Missouri at the possibly.
I don't know. We do hold her books. We hold different editions. I never did collect there's like fan fiction Wilder. I don't collect that. But we have the original books, and I think we might even have some illustrations, but that's it.
So, I know it's mainly picture book archiver. That's kind of how it started. No,
Oh no,
or
that's
did he collect?
oh yeah, yeah. But he loved picture book artists.
Okay,
So he liked to hang out with Arnold. They were a fun crowd. Arnold Lobel, James Marshall, Maurice Sendak, this New England kind of crew. And, he was in DC. So there were some in Philly, there were some in New York and up through Maine. He summered in Maine, so he knew those people. Yeah, Clement Hurd. He ran with the people who were all hanging together at that time.
okay,
So that's why we think picture books. But I it's not true. He collected both. He collected award winners. The focus of
okay.
the collection from him was award winners. So Newbery, Caldecott, and then Karen Nelson Hoyle expanded that.
So the chapter book collection is
Yeah, it's
just
huge.
as
Yeah, it's
big.
huge.
So to the person who is wondering, was
Series
there?
books and lots of series books. So we have this Hess collection. So you remember every Cherry Ames student nurse and you want to read through the series, we can put them in the reading room and go to town. What you will find is they're really tedious to read. I got here and I was like, I'm gonna read Cherry Ames student nurse, and I made it 2 pages.
So, if you read one,
Yeah.
you pretty much encapsulated.
No, they were written in a syndicate.
Yeah.
So
So, but so for whoever was thinking, what books should I ask for the 10 and 11-year-old? It's like also ask them what their favorite chapter books are
yeah.
or series, and you can probably find some of those in
Right,
the
but do you want to
collection
sit
too.
in the reading room and watch a kid read? That's so boring. But looking at manuscript pages, very interesting, very exciting. Looking at how an artist like Matthew Home makes his pictures and his
Yep.
cartoons. That stuff that's what's interesting about
Mhm.
this process. And if you wanna look at, yeah, I would say download the ABC of It, Why Children's Books Matter, or go to, if you're interested in art, go to the digital space that says Children's Book Art and Techniques. Every single thing I can share. Wait, let me share. Look at me.
Mhm.
Look at me sharing. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna go here. Kerlan. So look how easy this is. Kerlan.umn.edu. Explore the Kerlan. When you go to the online exhibits, here's the ABC of it. Here's Balloons Over Broadway. All of these materials that we have here are from our collection. So you can request any of these materials. So if you want to look at original tissue made by Eric Carle, we have these things. Now, the majority of Eric Carle's stuff is at the Eric Carle Museum, but before there was an Eric Carle Museum, there was us. So they gave us stuff. If you want to look at the original art from Balloons Over Broadway, you can literally see online how a collage is made, but you can come to us and we can pull this and show you the collage. If you want to look at painting, we're talking about style and technique because acrylic is very different from gouache, but oh, look at this. This is Mr. Beefy. This is from a book called Once I Ate a Pie. And Mr. Beefy is oil on board. And if we go down, we can see what oil paint is. We give you a definition of it. And then you can look at the different oil paintings in the collection. So this is James Ranson, Oil on Paper. This is Once I Ate a Pie. Do you know this book? It's a book of poetry. Mr. Beefy says, I am not thin, but I am beautiful. I steal tubs of butter off the table and take them to the basement to eat in private. Once I ate a pie. And so you can see oil on board, but you can see the brush strokes. So you can see this online, but if you want to see it in your hands, you just make an appointment and we will show you that. You might like the Stinky Cheese Man. I don't know, but I do. This also is oil on board, but a different technique from Lane Smith. So this is Resist. So we see. And I, until I saw the original art, I went, oh, right, his smile's a bacon. I didn't realize that. So that's why we teach from the collection. So you can see if you like Pokey Little Puppy. This is Tempera. Goodnight Moon. And then again, we use this program because it's fast. And when you take this out of the box and look at Tempera, you can smell the rotten eggs. Because that's Tempera's made with egg yolks. But you can see Pokey Little Puppy, the original art, Gustav Tengren. And those are the signature marks to line up the printing. And so those are our online exhibits. And also, if we go back to this, to the Kerlan, explore the Kerlan publications, what I was talking about before, free download. Free download. So the ABC of it, click on that. You can see the history of the collection. The writing boxes, again, free download. University of Minnesota Libraries Publishing. And it's pretty fast download. And we're just going to download it right here so you can see how fast it is. Sure, let's do that. Look how fast that was. And now a few of those 6, 11-year-old, 10-year-olds, this is writing boxes, what kids do with them, and templates of how to do off-the-page materials. You want to do map making. You can read aloud books that are maps. Go to your public library, get any of these map books. My favorite is Mapping Sam. There's Mapping Sam. And then you can create fairy tale land maps, what to do, takes you a half hour. And then we give you templates, print them out, make maps, make comics. It's for school libraries, public libraries. This is some kids' work. This was at the Twin Cities Book Festival. So these are the kinds of things we do when we go out into the world.
Okay, well, it is hitting 2 o'clock, and that time has flown. It has been fun. Um, just a couple, there's a thank you in there, how fun and fascinating this has been. And yeah, I wish that we could go on, but that's why, I wanted to pique people's interest to go and explore more. The archives at the U are fascinating, so this was hopefully maybe our first introduction to one of them, and maybe we'll come back and revisit a different archive. And thank you, Lisa, so much for sharing your passion for children's literature and giving us a glimpse into what the Kerlan collection holds and how we can access it. We really appreciate that. So, um, yeah,
Well,
and
thank you for inviting me, and it was a joy, and I hope to see you, people who I don't see, but just, when you call, when you email, just say you were at the Ollie thing and this is what you want to see. The last thing I want to say is if you go to the Kerlan and it says explore the Kerlan, it gives you a list of all the artists and writers. Help us out. Tell us what collection you want. Don't just say show me some cool stuff. Kind of figure out what you might want to see. Get us the box number. That's always helpful. That's usually listed.
okay, so thank you once again. Thanks to Ollie and the Ramsey County Libraries for making this programming possible. And I just hope everyone has a good day. And next week, we're back with our final one in the series, which will be looking at the 2024-2025 Supreme Court session and the decisions. Yeah, that's the company you're keeping, Lisa. Um, so we'll be looking at that with a political science professor from the University of Minnesota, and invite your friends. They can sign up on the library website still to gain access to that if you want people to join us. So, okay, thanks everyone. Thanks, Grayson, for letting us hang out a few minutes longer, and everyone, have a good day.